Welcome to the Switchblade Sisters Social Club. Yet another true crime podcast where two middle-aged friends exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome.
For more information, find us on Instagram and Facebook or check out our website at www.switchbladesisterssocialclub.com. Audience discretion advised.
Hi, this is Switchblade Sisters Social Club. I'm Dee.
I'm Emma.
And we are two friends here to exploit our worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome. We have events lined up.
Exciting.
Yes, we do. So we've got 12th, 13th, and 14th of February at the Brewery Market in Twickenham, our Valentine's Day events. So it's kind of our anti-Valentine's Day event. So basically, come along if you want something a bit different with your partner, come along with your friends, come along on your own if you want. It's puppy friendly as well, so bring your dog. And this time round, the event is called Broken Hearts and Candied Beers. So I'm super excited about that. I love candy. Sweets for you British listeners. So yeah, that should be fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. And
Yeah.
if there's going to be sweets there as well, that makes me even more excited.
Right. And because you get 4 taster beers, and Linda always puts on an amazing spread of snacks to go with the beers. And we obviously tell amazing stories of broken hearts and lovers' tiffs that go particularly bad. But also, if you come and join us on the actual 14th, Friday, 14th of February for Valentine's Day, you get a gift. You get to get a beer glass, a Murder on Tap beer glass. So our series of events is called Murder on Tap. We think that's punny and funny. And you get a special beer glass. I can't wait. I can't wait to hand them out and see the looks on people's faces when they see their amazing new beer glass.
I want lots of them.
Yeah, same, as do I. I'm also, just FYI, wearing our notorious lesbian t-shirt.
Yay.
Yep, and I'm like all branded up today. Our amazing mug.
Check you out.
Filled with actual coffee. So, yeah, today it is the turn of you.
It is. It is the turn of me.
Yes. What you got for us, lady?
Okay, so I have a story that is not set in this country. You'll be happy to know. And
as far away as possible, please.
Yeah, and there is murder in it, but I'm not really focusing on that.
All right.
So,
okay. Are you focusing on the lovey-dovey side of the story, or?
No, I'm absolutely not. I will get into it and all will become clear.
All right,
there
great.
You go.
I'm looking forward to it.
So this is around Patricia Campbell Hearst, who was born on, what's the face for?
Patty Hearst.
Yeah.
Yay! Yes! Oh my God. I have had this on my list to cover for so long. So I'm so glad that we're doing this, because this is a great, great story, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's quite sad in a way. But yeah, a good story nonetheless. So she was born on February the 20th, 1954 in San Francisco, California. And she was the third of 5 daughters of Randolph Apperson Hearst and Catherine Wood Campbell. She was raised primarily in Hillsborough and attended the private Crystal Springs School for Girls and various other private schools, and eventually went to the University of California in Berkeley. So the family background is interesting because her grandfather created the largest newspaper magazine, newsreel, and film business in the world at the time. and her great-grandmother was a philanthropist, and the family wielded immense political influence and had opposed organized labor, gold mine workers' interests, and of communism since before World War II. So
Republican.
Patty's father was among a number of heirs to the family fortune, but he did not control the Hearst's interests. Her parents hadn't considered that it was necessary to take preventative measures to ensure their children's personal security. And
that feels like a lapse.
little bit,
care.
considering how much they were probably worth. And at the time when the bad stuff started happening to her, she was a sophomore at Berkeley and studying art history and living with her fiance, Steve Weed. Not a good surname, but there you go. So on the 4th of February 1974, when she was 19, she was kidnapped from her Berkeley apartment. And the group that kidnapped her were a small American militant far-left organization who, looking into them a little bit, they were active from 1973 and 1975, and they claimed to be a vanguard movement. Now, I had to look up what a vanguard movement was.
Yes,
so this
please.
this is a strategy where the most class-conscious members of the working class, known as the Revolutionary Vanguard, led institutions to advance communist goals.
Okay.
So the Vanguard worked to engage the working class in revolutionary politics and to strengthen proletarian political power against the bourgeois. Is that right? Have I said those words right?
So you basically have the factory owners and the factory workers, basically. Right. So it's, in the most extreme sense of the word, it's sort of like communist ideals and so forth. But it sounds like their opponents, the Hearsts in this case, were anti even having any kind of unions or workers' rights or anything like that, which most people are generally okay with these days.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the FBI and wider American law enforcement considered the SLA, I'm not sure I said what they were called actually. So the United Federate Forces of the Symbionese, is that right? Symbionese Liberation Arm, SLA.
Okay. SLA from now on. These are a lot of strange words, but yes, SLA.
I think it's Symbionese. Anyway, so they considered the SLA to be the first terrorist organization to rise from the American left. And in the pursuit and prosecution of the SLA, this went on until 2003. So even though they were only active between 73 and 75, it took a long time for them to sort of track everybody down. In 2003, they actually arrested a lady called Sarah Jane Olson, and she was convicted in a plea bargain and sentenced for second-degree murder related to a 1975 bank robbery in California.
So they're robbing banks.
Yeah. During its existence, the group murdered, So during its existence, the group murdered at least 2 people, committed armed bank robberies, attempted bombings, and other violent crimes, including kidnapping of Patty. And its spokeswoman was escaped convict Donald DeFreeze. But Patricia Solsky and Nancy Ling Perry were also believed to be shared group leadership with him. In November 1973, the previously unknown SLA assassinated Marcus Foster, the black superintendent of Oakland Public Schools, and wounded his deputy superintendent, Robert Blackburn. This murder alienated the SLA from the local radical community.
Why are they killing a person in charge of education? Okay.
Unknown, but stupid. So interestingly, the SLA was made up of mostly white members, but after Theo Wheeler left in October 1973, and he left because he disagreed with their plans for violence, De Vries was the SLA's only black member, and there was another guy called Joe Ramiro who was Latino, basically. So I have a picture of De Vries.
A second. Let me give you permission to share, because I forgot. Go.
That's okay. I'm just bringing it up. And you got a small picture, unfortunately. But that is what he looks like.
Right, okay. De Vries.
Yeah.
Is that his name is actually spelled?
Yeah, yeah.
Like actually De Vries, like a freezer.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Okie dokie. So, um, so then when this eventually did go to trial, it was found that the group's main intention in kidnapping Patty was to leverage the Hearst family's political influence to free SLA members Ross Little and Joe Ramiro, who had, I'm so sorry, one of my dogs has done the most rancid fart I've ever smelt in my life.
I'm gonna guess Mabel. Oh, you
It's
don't know.
always Mabel. It's
Yeah.
always Mabel.
All right, you do know.
And she is quite far away from me, so that's impressive in a
Wow.
really fucked up kind of way.
Oh, bless
Yeah,
her. Bless her.
yeah, that's sorry. That was so bad I had to stop.
Yeah, no,
Um
sorry. Take a moment if you need it. Go on. Don't
so
light
yeah,
any
so
fires.
no. Jesus Christ. So Joe Romero had been arrested for the November 1973 murder of Marcus Foster. So after the state refused to free the men, the SLA demanded that Hearst's family distribute $70 worth of food to every needy Californian, an operation that would cost an estimated 400 million. And this is in the 70s. So, you know, a
I
lot
mean,
more
I'm
now.
sure they were loaded, but that's a lot.
But don't forget, I said that her father was one of many entitled to the fortune and didn't have access to
Hmm.
that kind of
Yeah.
money. So in response to this, Hearst's father obtained a loan and arranged an immediate donation of $2 million worth of food to the poor of the Bay Area for 1 year in a project called People in Need. However, this descended into chaos and the SLA refused to release Patty.
Oh. So they
Yeah,
are trying to
yeah,
meet the needs.
yeah. But I think it went a bit crazy with people trying to get food, etc.
Yeah.
So when she was eventually apprehended, and obviously I'll get into how that happened, in her trial in 1976, she said that she was held for a week in a closet, blindfolded with her hands tied. And during this time, Donald DeFreeze repeatedly threatened her with death. She was allowed to leave the closet for meals, still blindfolded, and began to participate in the group's political discussions. She was given a flashlight for reading and SLA political tracts to memorize. She said she was confined to this closet for weeks and said that DeFreeze told me that the war council had decided or was thinking about killing me or me staying on with them, and that I better start thinking about that as a possibility. I accommodated my thoughts to coincide with theirs. And she had been basically given the choice of being released, dying, or joining the SLA. So when
And we
she
have
was
to
asked,
remember what she says in the trial may not be the exact version of events because she might be kind of sugarcoating or tailoring it to kind of reduce her sentence or whatever. I mean, the fact that we're even talking about her going to trial when she's been kidnapped, it's just bonkers, isn't it? But
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it really is. So she elected to remain and fight with the SLA. At this point, the blindfold was removed, allowing her to see her captors for the first time. After this, she was given daily lessons on her duties and especially weapons drills. Angela Atwood told Patty that the others wanted her to share in the sexual freedom amongst the unit. And Patty later went on to claim that she had been raped by, excuse me, William Wolfe and DeFreeze.
That's not sexual freedom.
No. On April the 3rd, 1974, 2 months after she'd been abducted, she announced on an audio tape which was released to the media that she had joined the SLA and adopted the name Tanya.
Keep Patty.
I know, exactly. And then on the 15th of April, she was recorded on surveillance video wielding an M1 carbine, which is a semi-automatic gun. I had to look that up as well, while robbing the Sunset District branch of the Hibernia Bank in San Francisco. She was identified under the pseudonym of Tanya and yelled, "I'm Tanya, up, up, up against the wall, motherfuckers." 2 men entered the bank whilst the robbery was occurring and was shot and wounded by the SLA. And according to Patty's testimony at her trial, a witness thought that Hearst had been several places behind the others whilst running to the getaway car. So at her trial, the Attorney General said that she was a common criminal and not a reluctant participant in the bank robbery. And one of the other attorneys said that her participation in the robbery may have been voluntary, contrasting with an earlier comment in which he said that she might have been coerced into taking part. The FBI agent heading the investigation said that the SLA members were photographed pointing guns at Patty during the robbery. So that doesn't sound very voluntary to me.
Yeah, because this was the big debate, how much she had actually adopted their views at the time. And then, like I was saying before, when she went to trial, she was obviously playing the "I got coerced" card. Is that true? Or did she really believe it at the time and now she's just saying that to kind of, you know, get more lenient sentence? There was even some beliefs that she wasn't even kidnapped originally, which I don't know. Tell me more. Tell me more.
So this is leading up to her apprehension. But on 16th of May, so a month after this bank robbery, a manager at Mel's Sporting Goods in Inglewood, California, observed a minor theft by William Harris, who had been shopping with his wife Emily whilst Hearst waited across the road in a van. The manager and an employee, sorry.
It's just hilarious when they commit all these major crimes and they get busted for something so minor.
I know, shoplifting.
Yeah.
The manager and an employee followed Harris out and confronted him. There was a scuffle and the manager restrained Harris. When a pistol fell out of Harris's waistband, Hearst discharged the entire magazine of an automatic weapon into the overhead storefront, causing the manager to dive behind a light post. He tried to shoot back, but Hearst began aiming closer.
He hid behind a lamppost, like, unless you were literally the lankiest streak of piss ever.
I know.
Okay. I mean, I presume that was the only thing to hide behind.
Yeah. I mean, it does, I think, go towards the whole, was she coerced or not, in that she didn't have to open fire on the store, you know, so it's interesting. So then the three of them hijacked 2 cars and abducted the owners. One was a young man who found Patty so personable that he was reluctant to report the incident. He testified at the trial to her discussing the effectiveness of cyanide-tipped bullets and repeatedly asking if he was okay. Oh, I'm just going to talk about cyanide bullets, but are you okay? I've just taken your car, but are you okay?
Bizarre.
Yeah, very bizarre. Police then obviously followed them and surrounded the main base of the SLA in Los Angeles before the three returned, so they hid elsewhere. The 6 SLA members inside the hideout died. There was an hours-long gunfight with police and 2 members were fatally shot. A fire also broke out in the house, in which the remainder died. But DeFries first killed himself by gunshot. It was initially thought that Patty had also died during this confrontation, but then later found that it wasn't. And then warrants were issued for her arrest and the married couple.
I didn't realize that so many of the members had died. So that explains why they're like, well, we don't have very many people to pin this on that are still alive. Let's make an example of them, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So warrants were issued for their arrests for several felonies, including 2 counts of kidnapping, I guess, when they abducted the car owners. Emily Harris, so the wife of the married couple, went to a Berkeley rally to commemorate the deaths of Angela Atwood, Solsky, DeFries, and other founding members of the SLA who had died in the Los Angeles hideout. And Harris
feels like the first place you would look for the remaining members, but okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Harris recognized Atwood's acquaintance, Kathy Sawyer, amongst the radicals with whom she had known from the civil rights groups that she'd obviously worked with previously. And Sawyer introduced the 3 fugitives to Jack Scott, an athletics reformer and radical. And he agreed to provide them with help and money.
An athletics reformer?
Yeah.
What it is?
I don't know.
I need to Google this. I'm sorry. I have to Google this.
That's okay.
Because what is an athletic body? No, reformer. Oh, it's to do with like Pilates. Yeah, it's a kind of Pilates. Oh, I guess the reformer machine, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So during this time, Patty apparently, allegedly, helped make improvised explosive devices. And these were used in 2 unsuccessful attempts to kill police officers during August 1975. One of the devices failed to detonate. Yeah. Mark's money found in the apartment when she was arrested was linked to Hearst and the SLA armed robbery. Another armed robbery, this was of the Crocker National Bank in Carmichael, California. She was the getaway car driver for the robbery. Myrna, sorry, I'm not sure how
I like how you looking at your own notes, you're like,
I know, I have read these notes, I promise. I just I must have skipped over that bit, but Myrna, she wait. Yeah, I can cut that bit out.
It's been a long day, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. So let's say Myrna, a mother of 4 who was at the bank making a deposit, was shot dead by Emily Harris, and Hearst was therefore potentially at risk for felony murder charges and can testify as a witness against Harris for the capital offense.
Why did they do it? Like, you know, there's been a long history of people doing acts of vandalism and acts of terrorism to gain attention for their cause. But the minute you have these civilian victims, you lose like sympathy and support, even for people who possibly like agree with you politically.
Yeah.
It's bonkers, isn't it?
And also because they received quite a backlash for the first bank robbery when 2 people were shot. So you think, you know, obviously they needed money, but not the way, is it?
Maybe don't kill a mother of 4.
Yeah, exactly. So on the 18th of September, Hearst was arrested in a San Francisco apartment with Wendy Yoshimura, another SLA member, by San Francisco Police Inspector Timothy F. Casey and his partner, Police Officer Lawrence R. Pesero. And also the FBI were there, and they were on the arresting team as well. Quite a number of FBI were there, actually.
I can imagine.
Yeah, they had 8 FBI members were there. While she was being booked into jail, she listed her occupation as an urban guerrilla. Yeah.
I mean, that I kind of like.
Yeah. She asked her attorney to relay the following message: tell everybody that I'm smiling, that I felt free and strong, and I send my greetings and love to all the sisters and brothers out there. She's not helping herself, is she?
Oh.
At the time of her arrest, her weight had dropped to 87 pounds, which is 40 kilos. Yeah. And she was described by a psychologist as low IQ, low and had low effect zombie, is what she was like. Yeah, I know. Shortly after her arrest, doctors recorded signs of trauma. Her IQ was measured at 112, whereas it had previously been 130. So her IQ had dropped. There
Well,
was
she's
huge,
malnourished. Her
yeah,
brain's not working properly.
yeah. There were huge gaps in her memory regarding her pre-Tanya life. She was smoking heavily and had nightmares. Without a mental illness or defect, a person is considered to be fully responsible for any criminal action not done under duress, which is defined as clear and present threat of danger or serious injury.
But this is the other thing, like, even if she thought she was getting on board, was it Stockholm syndrome? Was it survival? You know, they
Yeah.
might have killed her if she didn't get on board, you know?
Yeah. I
She
think
might have thought
it's
she was fully
difficult.
on board.
Yeah. I think it's difficult then to also sort of put that against the other stuff. Like when she was with the SLA, yes, you can see it, but then to go on and make bombs and to be
Yeah.
involved in these other,
And of
bank
course,
robberies.
she was 19 when she was kidnapped. She is an adult, but she's a very young adult, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, can you imagine being kidnapped and held captive for a week? Like, I'm not saying we would all go on and make bombs and kill people directly or indirectly, but you don't know how you're going to react. You don't know what
No,
your brain's going to start telling you. And again, if
no,
she's undernourished and if these rapes did happen, like, yes, she's got fucking trauma, you know?
absolutely. So, in order for her to secure an acquittal on the grounds of having been brainwashed, this at that time would have been completely unprecedented. So the court appointed a psychiatrist who was a professor at the University of California, and he was appointed as in his capacity as a brainwashing expert, and apparently worked without a fee. After the trial, he wrote a newspaper article asking President Carter to release Patty from prison.
So he thought she was brainwashed then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patty wrote in her memoir, Every Secret Thing, I spent 15 hours going over my SLA experiences with Robert J. Lifton of Yale University. Lifton, an author of several books on coercive persuasion and thought reform, pronounced me as a classic case which met all the psychological criteria of a coerced prisoner of war. If I had reacted differently, that would have been suspect, he said.
I mean, because, you know, there's, I totally agree that she was in the wrong in that she did these things that are horrible. But did she have a choice? Like, even if she wasn't brainwashed, can you resist these violent people who are murderers themselves? Like, you know what I mean? Can you say, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make a bomb,
Yeah.
you know?
And she was probably scared as well in that, even when she went to the second group, she was introduced by somebody who she'd been in the SLA with. She probably knew that she was in trouble with the law. Like she wouldn't necessarily know where to turn.
And
So
again, 19, dealing with all that shit at like 19. So this is, I think, one of the fascinating things about this case is like you just really don't know how to feel about Patty, do you?
No,
Like,
no.
it's like you've got sympathy, you know she did wrong. Yeah, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, absolutely. So after some weeks in custody, Patty repudiated her SLA allegiance. Her
She
first
what?
lawyer
Sorry.
repudiated. Have you never heard of that word?
No. Have you ever heard of that word?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it just saying I'm not a member anymore?
Yeah, she's saying I don't have an allegiance to them.
Okay. She dropped out of the SLA, basically.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that word from now on. Repudiated? Love it.
Repudiated.
Repudiated. Okay, I've got first learn how to say it. Can you
I think,
WhatsApp it to me later so I know the word?
yeah, we use it a lot in law, actually.
Oh, okay.
Like we say somebody repudiated her there. You just like the fact I'm saying poo. You fucking nutter.
Like it reminds me of when I was talking to you yesterday about reverse pooing, which is a shampooing technique. I just like it because reverse
I
poo.
know, I did wonder where that conversation was going.
Yeah.
Reverse pooing.
I was
What?
recommending reverse pooing to you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is it
FYI,
something?
it's when you leave conditioner in your hair for a set amount of time and then you wash it out when you take a shower or whatever with shampoo, but then that's it. You don't condition afterwards again. Reverse poo. You're welcome. It's really good.
Yeah. I'm glad we cleared that up.
Yes. Now
Have
we're
you never heard
repooing.
have you heard of the word repudiatory?
No.
Okay. Maybe it's
But
obviously
then I've
legal
never been
speak.
to court, so
Fair enough. Fair enough.
or
So,
joined the SLA.
yeah, her back to Patty.
Yeah.
Her first lawyer, Terence Hallinan, had advised Patty not to talk to anybody, including psychiatrists. He advocated a defense of involuntary intoxication, that the SLA had given her drugs that affected her judgment and recollection. He was replaced by attorney F. Lee Bailey, who asserted a defense of coercion and duress, affecting intent at the time of the offence. This was similar to the brainwashing defense, which Hallinan had warned was not a defense in law.
I guess because
Hearst
there was
gave,
no precedent, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. So then she then went on to give lots of long interviews to various psychiatrists. So this I don't think is fair, but she alone was arraigned for the Hibernia bank robbery. The trial commenced on January the 15th, 1976. And Judge Oliver Jesse Carter ruled that her Judge Oliver Jesse Carter ruled that her taped and written statements after the bank robbery, while she was a fugitive with the SLA members, were voluntary.
was she the only one that was done for that bank robbery because she was the only one still alive?
Yeah,
Yeah. So there you go. She
yeah,
made an example of, huh?
yeah, absolutely. So this judge did not allow expert testimony, that stylistic analysis indicating that the Tanya, in inverted commas, statements were and writing were not wholly composed by Patty. He permitted the prosecution to introduce statements and actions Hearst made long after the Hibernia robbery as evidence of her state of mind at the time of the robbery, which doesn't make sense to me at all, because what you do later on, you can't say, well, I did that in the past because of my action. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. Judge Carter also allowed into evidence a recording made by jail authorities of a friend's jail visit with Patty, in which she used profanities and spoke of her radical and feminist beliefs. But he did not allow tapes of psychiatrists' interviews of Hearst to be heard by the jury. Judge
But then
Carter was
this guy wanted to make an example of her.
yeah,
So, I mean, sorry, but profanities and feminism are not illegal. And it just seems like they're trying to destroy her character there.
yeah,
But then not having
absolutely.
psychiatrists, I don't understand why you wouldn't allow expert opinions. It's
Well, get
bizarre.
this. this judge was described as resting his eyes, also in inverted commas, during testimony favorable to the defense, and obviously very encapsulated by testimony that was against her.
I mean, this does not sound like she had a fair trial. Whatever you think of her actions and her, this is not a fair trial at all, is it?
No. So according to her testimony, her captors had demanded she appeared enthusiastic during the robbery and warned she would pay with her life for any mistakes. Her defense lawyer provided photographs showing that SLA members, including Camilla Hall, had pointed guns at Patty during the robbery. In reference to the shooting at Mel's sporting goods store and her decision not to escape, she testified that she was instructed throughout her captivity on what to do in an emergency. She said one class in particular had a situation similar to the store manager's detention of the Harrises. Hearst testified that when it happened, I didn't even think, I just did. And if I had not done it, and if they had not been able to get away, they would have killed me. So obviously she
that
wasn't
does sound
aware.
Believable.
Yeah, she wasn't aware of the siege going on at the house where with the police.
No, so it does sound totally believable that they would run through procedures for, if you're approached, if you're apprehended, if you're recognized, blah, 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 and that they would do those and drill them into you so it becomes automatic,
And that is brainwashing.
Exactly. So, and again, it does also sound believable that she's worried if I don't act how they want me to act, they will kill me.
Yeah. So testifying for the prosecution, Dr. Harry Kozel said Hearst had been a rebel in search of a cause, and her participation in the Hibernia robbery had been an act of free will. Prosecutor James L. Browning, Jr., asked the other psychiatrist testifying for the prosecution if Hearst was in fear of death or great bodily injury during the robbery, to which he answered no. Bailey angrily objected. Fort assessed Hearst as amoral and said she had voluntarily had sex with Wolfe and DeFries, which Hearst both denied in court and outside. Prosecutor Browning tried to show the writings by Hearst indicated her testimony had misrepresented her interactions with Wolfe. She said she had been writing the SLA version of events and had been punched in the face by William Harris when she refused to be more effusive about what she regarded as sexual abuse by Wolfe. Judge Carter allowed testimony from the prosecution psychiatrists about Hearst's early sexual experiences, although these had occurred years before the kidnapping and the bank robbery.
Also, why does this matter?
Exactly. It's absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, ugh.
I have a couple of other photos I want to share actually. So, and again, the prosecution relied on this picture quite heavily, which is also ridiculous. Because this was released as almost like propaganda, I guess, during when she was with the SLA. So this is Patty Hearst, and obviously she's branding a machine gun there.
So this is the one that you see quite right. This is the one that comes up when you're looking at this case. Yeah, I mean, it is damning, but you don't know what's happened in the run up to this photo. You can't even see if there's someone off camera fucking pointing a gun at her to make her point a gun. Like it's just, you don't know.
No, exactly. And then sorry, there's another. This is her mugshot. Oh, why is that not sharing? There we go.
Can't get over still how young she is. I forgot that she was 19.
Yeah.
Is this her mugshot? She looks so super glam.
I know.
She looks better in this mugshot than like when I purposely try to take a good photo.
Yeah, and I think below, I'll just double check. I don't know where that is her being led to court.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see how skinny she is.
God, painfully so.
Yeah.
God.
Okay. Let me just check.
I mean, I'm not making excuses at all, but if I had been locked in a cupboard for a week, blindfolded, you
I mean,
know,
it was actually more than a week she was locked in a cupboard for.
oh
It was
God,
weeks.
oh,
Yeah.
it was terrible. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So obviously they've just said all of that about her previous sexual encounters and all this nonsense. And apparently she made a poor impression in court and appeared lethargic. Yeah, no
because
shit.
she's
So she's,
underweight and
yeah.
in prison.
An Associated Press report attributed this state to drugs she was given by jail doctors. Bailey was strongly criticised for his decision to put Hearst on the stand and having her repeatedly decline to answer questions.
I mean, that is
She was,
weird.
yeah, she was wrong-footed by the judge, who appeared to indicate that she would have Fifth Amendment privilege. The jury would not be present for some of her testimony or would be instructed not to draw inferences on matters subsequent to the Hibernia bank charges for which she was being tried, but he changed his mind.
This trial
After
is
It's a joke.
just,
It's an
yeah.
absolute joke. After a few months, Patty provided information to the authorities, not under oath, of SLA activities. A bomb exploded at Hearst Castle in February 1976. After Hearst testified that Wolfe had raped her, Emily Harris gave a magazine interview from jail alleging that Hearst keeping a trinket given to her by Wolfe was an indication that she had been in a romantic relationship with him.
Nope, nope, because relationship between a rapist and their victims can be super complicated. I mean,
Yeah. She
some
said
people
that
are
she had,
married to the people that rape them. Do you know
well,
what I
yeah,
mean? Like
absolutely.
it doesn't indicate anything.
No. And she said she had kept the stone carving because she thought it was a pre-Columbian artifact of archaeological significance.
I believe that
The,
more.
yeah. The prosecutor used Harris's interpretation of the item as to say that actually that's bullshit. But anyway. Some jurors later said that they regarded the carving, which Browning waved in front of them, as powerful evidence that Hearst was lying.
I mean, we
Yeah.
have to remember this is the 70s. We have thankfully come a long way in terms of our view of rape and what it is and how it happens and how it affects the victims. But this is awful.
Yeah, absolutely. In his closing argument, Prosecutor Browning suggested that Hearst had taken part in the bank robbery without coercion. Browning, who later became a judge, shock, also suggested to the jury that as a female SLA member, as they were feminists, they would not have allowed Hearst to be raped. In her autobiography, Hearst expressed disappointment with what she saw as Bailey's lack of focus on the crucial end stage of her trial. She described him as having the appearance of someone with a hangover and spilling water down the front of his pants while making a disjointed closing argument.
This is her
Bailey's,
lawyer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bailey's final statement to the court was, Bailey's final statement to the court was, but simple application of rules, I think, will yield one decent result. And that is, there is not anything close to proof beyond reasonable doubt that Patty Hearst wanted to be a bank robber. What you know and what you know in your hearts to be true is beyond dispute. There was talk about her dying and she wanted to survive. I mean, that's a shit closing argument. What you know in your hearts, like, fuck off, mate.
No, that's like saying we don't have any evidence, so just go with your feelings, which
Yeah, exactly.
is not great in court of law, is it?
No.
No. Oh
So
well.
I know. On March the 20th, 1976, shock, she was convicted of bank robbery and using a firearm using the commission of a felony. Sorry, during the commission of a felony. She was given the maximum sentence of a possible 35 years imprisonment, pending a reduction at final sentence hearing, which Carter declined to specify. Again, shock. Then this guy died. So Judge Carter died.
Probably
And so,
in court, because remember
yeah,
our episode with Louis Ferranti, where he's like, yeah, judges just stay judges until literally the day they die.
yeah,
So,
wouldn't surprise me.
yeah,
Um, so William H. Orrick Jr., another junior. What is it with Americans and junior? I don't understand. Anyway,
showing that they're posh in it.
yeah. So he determined Patty's sentence, and he gave her 7 years imprisonment, commenting that rebellious young people who, for whatever reasons, become revolutionaries and voluntarily commit criminal acts will be punished.
And it's much less than 35 years, though.
Yeah, but
I
still
think she,
shit.
yeah, but she also, if she was lucky at any point, that was it, right? Because you can
Yeah,
imagine the other guy would probably found a way to like put her in prison for life or something.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. She was escorted by marshals into a Los Angeles courthouse for a May 1976 pre-trial hearing for the shootout at Mel's Sporting Goods. So this is after,
Right. So that first trial was just for that one bank robbery,
yeah, and then the second part was for the
the
shootout.
shootout.
She was imprisoned at the Federal Correctional Institute in Dublin, California, and she suffered a collapsed lung in prison, which is the beginning of a series of medical problems, and she underwent emergency surgery. This sorry, this prevented her from appearing to testify against the Harrises on 11 charges, including robbery, kidnapping, and assault. She was also arraigned for those charges. She was held in solitary confinement for security reasons and then was granted bail for an appeal hearing in November 1976 on the condition that she was protected on bond. Her father hired dozens of bodyguards. So then they got them protection.
Too late, but
Super
anyways.
yeah. Superior Court Judge Tolbert Callister gave her probation on the sporting goods store charge when she pleaded no contest, saying that he believed that she had been subject to coercion amounting to torture. California Attorney General Yvel J. Younger said that if there was a double standard for the wealthy, it was the opposite of what was generally believed, and that Hearst had received a stiffer sentence than a person of lesser means might have. He said that she had no legal brainwashing defense, but pointed out the events had started with her being kidnapped. Finally, somebody's actually looking at this. However, her bail was revoked in May 1978 when the appeals failed, and the Supreme Court declined to hear her case. The prison took no special security measures for her safety until she found a dead rat on her bunk on the day when William and Emily Harris were arraigned for her abduction. The Harrises were convicted on the simple kidnapping charge as opposed to the more serious kidnapping for ransom or kidnapping with bodily injury, and they were released after serving a total of 8 years each. Makes
So
no sense.
that they got pretty much the same
Yeah.
sentence as her.
Yeah, and why they weren't convicted for
Yeah, for the other
kidnapping
stuff.
for
It's funny.
ransom, because that's what they did. Like they did
Yeah.
kidnap for ransom and they did give her bodily injuries.
I'm guessing they just had a better lawyer and a better judge.
Yeah, probably. So then Representative Leo Ryan was collecting signatures on a petition for Hearst's release several weeks before he was murdered while visiting Jonestown settlement in Guyana. Actor John Wayne spoke after the Jonestown cult death, stating that people had accepted that Jim Jones had brainwashed 900 individuals into mass suicide, but would not accept that the Symbionese Liberation Army could have brainwashed a kidnapped teenage girl.
Wow. I very rarely agree with John Wayne on things.
But he's got a point.
Yeah. I mean, it
So,
happens. These people are
yeah,
clever.
absolutely. President Jimmy Carter commuted her federal sentence to the 22 months that she had served, freeing her 8 months before she was eligible for her first parole hearing. Her release on February the 1st, 1979, was under stringent conditions, and she remained on probation for the state sentence on the sporting goods store plea.
So
She
she
recovered.
served less than 2 years in total,
Mhm.
all the trial time, blah, blah, blah. And then she was released, but with
Yeah.
conditions.
Yeah. She recovered all of her full civil rights when President Bill Clinton granted her a pardon on January 20th, 2001, his last day in office. So on to some happier news.
Okay.
2 months after her release from prison, she married Bernard Lee Shaw, a policeman who was part of her security detail during her time on bail. They had 2 children, Gillian and Lydia Hearst Shaw. Hearst then became involved in a foundation helping children with AIDS and was active in other charities and fundraising activities.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, because I was gonna ask what happened because you said she was living with her fiance when she was kidnapped.
yeah. I
I
think
guess,
he left her.
yeah.
And I have a picture of the married couple, which is quite cute.
Oh, that is, he looks adorable.
Yeah.
He's got a very kind face.
Yeah. Um, so then there's loads and loads of films about this. There's like she wrote memoirs. Um, she published a memoir in 1981, and her accounts resulted in authorities considering bringing new charges against her. It's just ridiculous. They didn't. She was interviewed in 2009 on NBC and said that the prosecutor has suggested that she had been in a consensual relationship with Wolf. She described this as outrageous as an insult to rape victims. She then produced a special for the Travel Channel titled Secrets of the San Simeon with Patricia Hearst, in which she took viewers inside her grandfather's mansion, Hearst Castle, providing unprecedented access to the property. She
Can
then
I just
collaborated.
say, I do kind of love that they call it Hearst Castle,
I know.
although it says a lot about them. Is it an actual
Yeah.
castle?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I know. I think I can take you to a link. Yes, it is actually. I'll share my screen so you can see what this
Please
actually
have a
looks
moat.
like.
Please have a moat.
No, it doesn't have a moat.
Oh, I'm already disappointed then. Drawbridge? Dragon.
Can you see there?
Ah, inspired. Yeah. I was gonna say it looks like a cathedral more than a
Yeah,
castle.
it's based it's Spanish architecture basically.
Hmm.
And now it's a museum.
Oh, well, if we ever get to LA, isn't it LA, I guess?
Yeah,
Let's go to that museum.
okay. Although I don't know if it might have been affected by the fires. I hope not.
Oh, God.
Yeah, nasty.
Hmm.
Um, she then also collaborated with another lady on writing a novel, Murder at the San Simeon, based on the death of Thomas H. Ince on her grandfather's yacht. So yeah, she's got heavily
Wait,
involved in. Go on.
is that a thing that happened, a true story, or is that did you say novel?
Yeah, it is
Oh,
based. It's based on the death of this random guy on her grandfather's yacht.
all
Yeah,
right. Next case.
yeah. She's also gone on to appear in feature films and TV shows, and she is also producing films and loads of documentaries. There's so many, we're like looking into, there's stuff like based on her, and then there's also stuff that she's done separately to that. Yes, I say she's been on television shows. She's even been a guest caller on Frasier, and
Bizarre.
yeah,
As
yeah,
herself, or
no.
yeah.
She appeared on an episode of Lord of the Pies and also Veronica Mars.
Wait, what is Lord of
Um,
the Pies? I
I
need
don't
this.
know actually.
Hang on. Hang on. Lord of the Pies TV show,
Yeah,
presumably. Lord of the Pies. I don't get it.
with season
Um,
three.
I don't I don't know.
Oh, actually, sorry. I think that Lord of the Pies is the episode title that she was in Veronica Mars.
Right, gotcha. Okay. No,
Sorry for my confusion there.
I
And
just thought you were telling me about this new amazing show that I need to watch.
no,
It's Lord of the
although
Pies.
if you haven't watched Veronica Mars, it's awesome.
Need to get on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's old, but it's good. And then finally, she's heavily into her dogs, which obviously we love,
Yep.
and she participates a lot with them in dog shows and has won quite a lot with them as well.
You have a
So
picture of her dogs?
no,
Googling
she likes Shih Tzus
Patty Hearst.
and French
Dog.
bulldogs.
Oh, good. Ah, yes, I see her here with what must be her Frenchie.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, good. I like that about her.
yeah, me too. So yeah, that is
Yeah.
Patty Hearst.
Oh, thank you so much because I always wanted to look into the details more and learn a bit more because it's just captivating and fascinating because I go around in circles about how I feel about
Mm.
her and her actions. And, it's just this whole concept and idea of brainwashing that I think is also just so fascinating. How much of it was brainwashing? How much of it was voluntary? How much of it was survival mode, and fear? I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
just never know. That's the thing, right? It's
it's interesting that different people looked at this and came to different conclusions. And she only served 22 months of a 7-year sentence.
yeah.
I mean, I think 2 years is too long, to be honest. But
So you're Team
there's,
Patty.
yeah, I
I
think the
think
fact
I
that,
am too, because I just think 19-year-old girl, again, what options did she have?
yeah,
What the fuck options did she have? You know? I don't know how much she was convinced by their ideology and how much of it she thought was voluntary or how much was like, I'm uncomfortable with this, but I know I need to do it, otherwise they'll just kill me. Um, but I don't know how she could have done it any other way and survived.
exactly. She was in fear for her life.
Yeah, these people had killed people.
Yeah. And it
So,
wasn't so out there for her to be in fear for her life.
no,
So,
again.
and the
And
fact that
again,
they brought up
the,
her previous sexual encounters and all of this, it's just,
like, what? She can't possibly have been raped because she's not a virgin, is
mm,
basically what they're saying. Like, she likes to have sex, so it must have
yeah,
been voluntary.
yeah,
Get fucked?
exactly.
Just awful. And we all know that, like, sex is often used as a tool in order to gain control over someone else?
Yeah. I mean, the mere act of rape is nothing about the sex side of it. It's about control.
Exactly. And fucking to say that there were women there and they were feminists, therefore
No.
one of their group couldn't have been raped by one of the men in there. Doesn't, like, how does that even
Yeah.
bear in mind that we don't know how much these other members were also there because of coercive control, because of fear for their lives, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
it's just bonkers. I mean, I think if this case had happened and if it had been tried today, it would have been handled much more different, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Which is why she's been pardoned by Bill Clinton and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. It's
just,
almost like saying that somebody deserved to be raped because of what they were wearing.
it's terrible. And
Yeah.
luckily, that attitude has changed a lot. I'm going to say that
Yeah.
some people don't still have it, but we've definitely moved on a bit from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh, and that bit that you said about, oh, she still had a necklace from the
Yeah,
guy that she was accusing of raping her, so she can't have been raped. Listen to yourself. Like, what?
I know. I know.
Yeah. Well, thank you for going into that. Um, I think it's nice that she has managed to come out of all of that, and clearly she's doing a lot of positive stuff for society, you know,
Yeah.
like regardless, whatever you might think of her crimes and her sentence and blah, blah, blah. It's not often we hear stories of people coming out of prison and doing awesome stuff. And you know,
Exactly.
she's doing all this charity work and raising all this awareness about different issues, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
And she likes French bulldogs. So that's
She
also
wins in
awesome.
our view.
Yeah. So just it's just again, I can't get over the fact that like 19, because can you imagine having to cope with any of that shit at 19?
Nope.
And then going through all that trial stuff, I presumably like up until her early 20s, you know, mid 20s.
And her name being dragged through the mud completely and utterly by
Yeah.
this fuckwit of a judge.
And then almost every person that you meet then for the rest of your life, knowing who you are, having a preconceived opinion of you either way, but just based on what they've read and heard and whatever, not on you, the individual standing in front of them. Just, I can't imagine that life. I mean,
Exactly.
that is a lifelong sentence in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Want to lighten the mood?
100%.
Okay, so this is just a little one, a little short one, but it's just so lovely and positive that I have to. Because we've been doing a lot of appeals for people to apply to date us. We've had some amazing applications, but they have dried up a bit.
So sad. So sad
Yes.
about this.
And it's getting harder and harder to maintain any feeling of dignity while still begging, literally begging people to just apply. I
Why
just want
does
to
no one want to
reiterate,
date us? I don't understand. We're
I just want to
awesome.
reiterate that you don't actually have to date us. And maybe that's it. Maybe they're like, well, if we don't actually get a real date, what's the point? If you
Yeah,
fill it in
maybe.
real good, we'll consider a date. Like, don't get us
Yeah.
wrong. Um, but maybe we should flip gears and beg people for relationship advice
Yeah.
instead, because we've had a few of those recently and they have been amazing. Like I
Hmm.
said the other week, we get the good advice, we forget the advice, and then we carry on doing bad things. But we
Maybe
still
that's why we're not getting that either.
people are like, why would I bother? And
Yeah.
all of this is pointless to me. So maybe we need to enter people into a prize draw for one of our mugs or something. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll think about that. We'll think on that over dinner tonight because we're going for dinner.
Woohoo, can't wait.
So I'm going to tell you just quickly this gorgeous piece of advice from the amazing Angus. I think I know which Angus this is because there aren't that many Anguses in the world, is there?
Great name. Great name.
Great name. And if it's the Angus that I'm thinking of, he's a great man. So, Angus, his advice, he says, this is why I think it's the Angus I know, because he says, I only know Deanna, but I would say be your lovely, amazing selves, and they should be queuing around the block.
Aw.
But that's what I'm doing.
I mean, we put ourselves out there every week.
Yeah, we literally make a podcast.
Exactly.
We put ourselves on socials and all sorts. We've got cute dogs to attract them in. None of it's working.
I know. Someone once said to me, "Don't you get like people come talk to you in the park or whatever when you're walking your dogs?" And I'm like, I think my dogs scare people, so no.
And you were told the other week that you're intimidating, so
Oh yeah, true.
yeah. And also, I think men are a little bit more reluctant to just approach women on their own in the parks these days. Quite rightly, it can be
Fair
threatening.
enough. Yeah,
Speaking of intimidating, that's it, you know.
yeah.
So yeah, I always used to get nervous when people used to come up to me when I was walking Lola, because it's like, this is one of the most expensive things I own here, my dog. Get
Yeah.
back, you bastards.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, maybe the park is not the best place to meet
No, maybe not.
men.
But that is also why I carry a rape alarm and may or may not, depending on who I'm speaking to, carry pepper spray.
And in my case, knuckle dusters slash key ring, depending on who I'm talking to. Love you,
Allegedly.
Colin. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. On that note, we've got lights now on Twickenham Green.
Oh yeah,
Being
we
the
do.
park that is where Emily de Lagrange was the final victim of Levi Belfield. So that was something that they decided to do to commemorate the 20th anniversary of it. Yes, you heard that right. It took 20 years for them to put lights on that park, but we got them now, you know. We got them now.
It's really random how many people I am now meeting who knew Levi Belfield. Like it's scarily, like my neighbors, like it's just insane how many people around this area knew him and knew he was a wrong one.
Yeah, because he was working on a lot of the doors of a lot of the pubs and stuff. So
Yeah.
a lot of people met him, and he liked to throw his weight around. So I'm sure he was very memorable and noticeable. Ugh,
Yeah.
ugh,
Ugh.
makes me feel sick thinking about him. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Angus, for giving us
Yeah, thank you,
lovely
Angus.
advice. We can't but be ourselves. Can't be no one else. For better or worse.
Have you got a joke for us, seeing as like, you know, obviously my amazing joke?
I I will tell one of my clean jokes because yours was so clean that it hurt. You're still laughing about it, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I love that joke.
Yeah, mine is two peanuts walking down the road. One was assaulted. You can have that one.
That's terrible.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Right, so ready for our date, Emma?
Yes. Well, no, I need to shower and change and put my face
Right.
on, but
Come pick me up when you're ready and we will go for our date. Me and
I
Emma
will.
are going on a date. And I think
Literally.
I just realized why we're single. It's because we spend too much time and effort dating each other.
Yes,
No man gets
absolutely.
a look in.
Nope.
I'm okay with that.
Me too.
Love you and
Love you
love our sexy listeners.
so much. So much.
Especially
Thank you,
the
sexy
ones that
listeners.
are notorious lesbians.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! All right, see you soon.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.